Hello everyone. Today's topic is about fat, one of the three important major nutrients in our diet. Coming to the quotations, do not eat what your great great grandmother would not recognize as food. There are great many food like items, mark the word food like items in the supermarket your ancestors would not recognize as food. Stay away from this. This is what Michael Pollan has said. Those who think they do not have time for a healthy eating will sooner or later have to find time for illness. That was Edward Stanley. Oh, I don't have time to cook. I eat only ready-made food. You will soon find time for illness. There is a lot of awareness regarding consumption of fat of late. Obesity is a major health issue all over the world and is the fourth cause of death all over the world. So we need to know something about fat. So when we are always worried about fat, is fat a dangerous diet? No. Fat is a necessary diet. As I said, this is one of the three major components of our healthy diet. So what is this fat? Fat contains cholesterol and fatty acids. Do we need cholesterol at all? We are always talking about bad cholesterol, good cholesterol. So is the cholesterol necessary for your healthy living? Yes, cholesterol is needed for cell membrane structure. Every cell in the body needs cholesterol for their integrity. The cell membrane, which limits the cell as an outer shell, is made up of cholesterol. Cholesterol is major contributor to hormone production. We all know about various hormones in the body and their important functions in our healthy life. Production of bile acids, which are necessary for fat digestion absorption, depends on cholesterol. Nerves are insulated. If you remember, nerve is nothing but a electrical wire in the body, and their insulation to avoid dissipation of electrical activity into the surrounding is done by cholesterol. So how essential is the fat? You have to remember cholesterol can be synthesized in the liver. So cholesterol is created in the liver from other sources. Like classically you all know that excess of calories intake in the form of carbohydrate or proteins can be converted into fat and stored in the body. That is why we always say when you consume more, you become fat, you become obese. But some fatty acids, which are called essential fatty acids, which body cannot make itself, it depends on outside source in the form of food. So these essential fatty acids have to be consumed by us. Another important factor is fat is needed for absorption of vitamin A, vitamin D and vitamin E. We call this fat soluble vitamins. If there is no fat in the food, these vitamins cannot be absorbed. The important point to remember is fats are high in energy. For a given amount of carbohydrate, which gives you 4 kilocalories, fat gives you 9 kilocalories. So fat is loaded with energy. Otherwise, we can say the energy is in the form of fat is more concentrated. So another important fact to remember is when we say somebody is obese or I'm collecting a lot of fat, is it always from the diet? Again, the answer is clear no. As we said, fats are produced by the body from the carbohydrate and proteins. When excessive carbohydrate is consumed and is not spent as energy, it is converted into fat and stored as fat. So it is very clear that fat is not always of dietary origin. Liver is an important organ when it comes to the management of cholesterol. It produces all the types of cholesterol that body needs. It stores the excessive cholesterol. Remember, one of the common issues today along with obesity and overweight is a fatty liver. So there is an excessive storage of fat in the liver. The liver eliminates cholesterol as it is in the bile, which is lost in the motion. So liver is the only organ which can synthesize, metabolize, use the cholesterol as well as excrete cholesterol or eliminate cholesterol from the body. Now, most essential knowledge about the fat is there are three types of fat in our food: saturated fats, unsaturated fats, and trans fat. We have to get a very clear idea about all the three of them, because it is important to know which fat has to be consumed and which fat has to be avoided. Now, coming to saturated fatty acids. What is this saturated fatty acids often talked about? What do you mean by the saturation? They are saturated with hydrogen ion. Forget about the chemistry. How do I know which is a saturated fatty acid? Any fat which is solid at room temperature contains lot of saturated fatty acids. Another important point is fat of animal origin contains saturated fatty acids like red meat, sausages and pies, butter, ghee and lard, cheese, especially cheddar cheese, full cream milk products, ice cream, savory snacks like cheese, crackers and popcorns, chocolate confectionaries, cakes and pastries are all sources of saturated fatty acids of animal origin. Tropical oils like coconut oil and palm oil also contains lot of saturated fatty acids. So why are we worried about the saturated fatty acids? High intake of this saturated fatty acids raises low density lipoprotein, which is called LDL, often reported in your laboratory reports as LDL, which is called bad cholesterol. What is bad about it? It increases the heart disease. So, consumption of saturated fatty acids or to a large extent fat of animal origin will lead to increased heart disease. Next category is unsaturated fatty acids. As we saw before, these are all not saturated with hydrogen ion. They are liquid at room temperature. And where do you find them? Plant-based oils like olive oil, sunflower oil, canola, nuts, seeds, and fish. Fish contains all unsaturated fatty acids. All your fish oils have unsaturated fatty acids. Consumption of these leads to lower level of the bad cholesterol, that is LDL, and it increases the good cholesterol, otherwise called high density lipoprotein or HDL. These unsaturated fatty acids are again divided into two types: monounsaturated fat and polyunsaturated fat. Monounsaturated fatty acids protect the heart by maintaining the level of good cholesterol and reduces the bad cholesterol. So where do you see them? It is seen in olive oil and rapeseed oil, avocados, nuts like almonds and peanuts. So peanuts and almonds contain a lot of monounsaturated fatty acids. So what is this polyunsaturated fats? There are two types of polyunsaturated fat in our diet, and these are called omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. These are often heard in nutritional parlors. They talk about omega-3 and omega-6. These are essential, which means they cannot be produced in the body and it is obtained only from diet. Omega-6 fatty acids are seen in vegetable oils like rapeseed, corn and sunflower oil. Nuts like walnuts, almonds and cashews predominantly contains omega-6 polyunsaturated fats, which are good. Omega-3 are seen in fish oils like sardines, salmon and mackerel. The third category is the trans fat. They are seen in very low levels in some natural food like meat, but predominantly they are produced by the food industry to enhance the taste. So, normal natural food contains very minimal amount of trans fats. Only processed foods contain a lot of trans fat. They are like saturated fats and have the same bad effect on the health. So you can understand the food industry, to enhance the taste component of the food, produce these trans fats which have a bad effect on our health. It is mandatory that food items in the market should declare the amount of trans fats. It is all in the label. And it is mandatory that people watch their fat intake, making sure saturated fats and trans fats are not high in their diet. Now that you have equipped with the knowledge that trans fats and saturated fats are bad, it is natural for us to look into the fat component of the food we consume so that we can avoid them. Whereas unsaturated fatty acids are very safe. Okay, we have been talking about you should not take high and you should not take high fat. We have to take only fat-free food. What is this high, low and fat-free food? These are all clearly defined. When the total fat is more than 17.5 grams per every 100 grams of the food, it is considered high fat. When it is 3 grams per 100 gram of food or 1.5 grams per 100 ml of liquid diet, then it is considered as low fat. Whereas anything less than 0.5 grams per 100 grams of food is considered fat free. When somebody declares that particular diet is fat free, then it should contain less than 0.5% of fat in every 100 grams of the food. Similarly, when it is saturated fatty acid is more than 5 grams per 100 grams, it is considered high. So your saturated fatty acids in any fatty meal should not be more than 5 grams per 100 grams or 5% of the fat. If it is less than 1.5 per 100 grams or 7.5 per 100 ml, it is considered as low. If it is less than 0.1 gram, then it is considered as fat free. Another important point is when any food is called low fat, it should contain 30% less fat than the similar product. Now you have lot of products which has come and said low fat diet. What is low fat diet? It should contain 30% of less fat than a similar product. Few interesting points about fat. There are foods which are named as low fat version of any fatty food. When you see a label low fat version of any fatty food, still you should remember there is high fat. And a fatty meal is declared as low fat, but still it contains lot of fat. By definition, when you say fatty meal, it contains lot of fat. When you consume low fat mayonnaise, it may contain less than 30% of fat, but still it contains a lot of fat. Mayonnaise is a fatty meal. Another important point is low fat foods are not necessarily low calorie food. They may contain sugar instead of fat and may have similar energy content. So low fat foods are not necessarily low calorie food. Moral of the story is always check the nutrition label of the food you consume. In today's world, it is mandatory for the food manufacturers to inform the various nutrients contents of the diets. This helps the common man to avoid high fat and high saturated and trans fat meals to remain healthy. In spite of high pressure and tempting advertisement of food products in the market, this labeling which enables a person to identify which contains high fat and which contains highly saturated or trans fat so that you can avoid it. Thank you for your attention. I hope you have come to know something about fat and what should be taken, what should be avoided. We will see you again another day with another topic. Dr. Vijay Raghavan signing off. Thank you.